Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the second in a series from the South Plainfield Mayor's Wellness Committee on short presentations regarding health topics that are important to the community. Today, as in last month, we are going to partner with Hackensack Meridian Health, and our topic today is cognitive wellness, how to keep your brain active. We're pleased to have Megan Kenny with us. She is a speech-language pathologist at Hackensack Meridian Health JFK, Johnson Rehabilitation Institute in Edison, New Jersey. She enjoys working with people with various speech, communication, and swallowing difficulties to facilitate rehabilitation, maintain current abilities, and optimize independence. She looks forward to sharing knowledge with the community regarding normal and abnormal memory changes, as well as ways to support healthy cognition throughout the lifespan. Well, we have 3 more participants coming in. Is being recorded and will be available on the Borough South Plainfield's website. We're going to turn it over to Megan shortly. She will go through her presentation, roughly 20 minutes. We're going to try and leave about 10 minutes for questions. Your lines are muted. We ask that you keep them that way, but you have the ability to unmute yourself during the Q&A period to ask a question. Those familiar with WebEx, there is a raise hand functionality there. You can use that. We will acknowledge you at the question and answer period. If not, unmute yourself at an opportunity that you have, and just state your name, and Megan will call on you, and you can present your question at that point. So, Megan, again, welcome. We're excited to have you here today as we explore the topic that I know is on the minds of a lot of folks in the community, and we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to the Borough of South Plainfield for having me and allowing me to present on this topic. So I've been a speech-language pathologist at JFK Medical Center for just about 3 years now. I'm currently in the outpatient setting, and some of my patients have difficulty with communication, with speaking, other people with swallowing, their ability to eat and drink, and other people with cognition, and a lot of them do have memory difficulties. And I find working with those patients with memory difficulties to be particularly rewarding. So I'm excited to present on this topic today, share a little bit about what I know about normal and abnormal memory loss, and give you some tips and tricks to keep your brain healthy and active, especially as we think about the brain aging. So let's jump right in. What is memory? We all have an idea about what memory is. It seems to be a pretty simple process. We place a lot of demands on our memory every day, right? We have to remember to get milk from the grocery store. We have to learn our neighbor's new name. We have to remember to call somebody back. And we might be familiar with that idea of SpongeBob sifting through those file cabinets in his brain, trying to find the information and find where he stored it. But it's actually not as simple as that. It's not quite like that very organized file system. It's a very complicated process that involves the entire brain. And when we remember something, when we actively think about something, we're actually reactivating the same neural pathways that were activated when the event happened in the first place. So for our brains, it's actually like reliving that event. Okay, I'm going to go over some different types of memory. There's many types of memory, but just as an overview, we have our short-term memory, which is our brain's ability to store information for a very short period of time, really just a matter of seconds. So this might be listening to what somebody says in a conversation and you remembering what they said and then planning an appropriate response. Our long-term memory is the process by which we encode and store information permanently for later use. So a lot of times we have information in our short-term memory, and from there, the challenge is how do we get it into our long-term memory? How can we ensure that it's going to be there later? So that's things like computer passwords, phone numbers, addresses, right? Things that we're going to use later on. The important thing to know about long-term memory is it likes to clean house a little bit. So if we're not using these memories, if we're not using what we have stored, our brain goes, all right, I'm not using that. I don't need it. Let me get rid of it. So if there is something that you want to remember, the best thing that you can do is keep bringing it to the front of your brain, keep talking about it, keep thinking about it. That way it stays in your long-term memory and your brain doesn't throw it out on you. External memory is a little bit different. It's how we can keep memories outside of our brain, and this is really beneficial whether you're having trouble with your memory or not. But essentially, it's writing things down and note taking, whether it's a shopping list, whether it's using a calendar, a to-do list, those little sticky notes or post-it notes that you have on your desk are really helpful because the act of writing, that mind muscle connection, helps store things in our memory for longer. So you might find that you write something down and then you actually don't need to refer back to your written notes. But that's a good sign. That means that everything is working as it should. And worst comes to worst, you have those written notes that you can rely back on. All right, some other types of memory, procedural memory. This is muscle memory. It's us knowing how to brush our teeth or tie our shoes without actively having to think about it and without having to think about what step comes next, tell your muscles how to move. We just know how to do it. Episodic memory is short blips of scenes or events from the past. So this might be your 10th birthday party or a really special holiday that you had with your family. And it's a quick, almost TV series-like memory. Your declarative memory is where we store facts and information. So if you're somebody who knows the capitals of the states or different numbers that you have memorized, that factual information is called your declarative memory. So we've talked a little bit about different types of memory and what memory is. It's important to remember that memory loss is typical and expected as our brains age. So there is such a thing as normal memory loss that occurs with aging. And this might be like this might be like delayed or lagging recall of information, it taking an extra second or two to think about something, every once in a while forgetting a name. But the important thing about this is that it doesn't interfere with your everyday life. So if you can still do things like prepare meals, work, dress yourself, manage your finances, take care of your daily needs, maintain your hobbies, these are indicators that it's probably normal age-related memory loss, and you forgetting somebody's name every once in a while is nothing more than just that. And these things can also occur in younger populations as well. I know that I frequently forget people's names, especially if I haven't met them or for more than once or twice or have a personal connection with them. Okay, so before saying, hey, I am really concerned about my memory and I'm thinking that I do have a memory problem, it's important to consider all of the other factors that may be at play. Our memories are really complicated processes and there are many things that can play a role. So here are some of the main ones that are known to impact memory. Number one is changes in medications. There's a lot of medications that studies show do impact our memory as a known side effect. So some anti-anxiety medications, some seizure medications, some narcotics for pain management are known to have side effects that can impact memory. And it might not be the addition of a brand new medication, but it might also be a change in dose or frequency, changing how much of it you take or how often you take, that can impact memory. So the important thing here is that if you have a change with medication, and you do notice, like any side effect, a change with your memory, you would want to reach out to your doctor as soon as possible and let them know what's going on so that you can get their guidance. Number two is sleep. Sleep is so important for our mind. Sleep is when our brains can strengthen the connections used to create and store memories. So our memory relies heavily on our sleep. And it's not just about how many hours you spend in your bed, it's also about the quality of that sleep. Did you sleep well? Did you wake up feeling well rested? Or were you up, tossing and turning all night, thinking about things that you had to do the next day? Quality is really important when we talk about sleep, not just quantity. Number 3 is attention. Attention is the base of memory. So to remember something, we have to be paying attention to it in the first place. If you are trying to remember something, but the environment is really distracting, right? There's phones ringing, there's a TV on in the background, somebody interrupts you, you may have more trouble retrieving that information later on. Something also that's pretty big to consider is multitasking. When we're dividing our attention, splitting it between two things, it may be harder to remember information from that time period. So if you are really focused on remembering something and it's important that you can retrieve that information later on, the best thing that you can do is dedicate all of your brain, all of your attention to that and work on it in a quiet environment. Next is changes in daily routines. Humans really are habits of creatures, so even if it's a small change, like taking a different route home from work, or changing the time that you plan on leaving the house, or maybe a change in a therapy schedule, those things can throw us off, and we might find that we forgot to bring something with us, or we forgot the exact timing of something. Major lifestyle changes, like a move, a new job, a change to our family structure, can also be connected to memory changes. Basically, anytime that there's a change in stress levels, and this brings us to our next point, we can expect it to potentially impact our memories. If we're very stressed, if we're preoccupied, worried, if we have a hectic lifestyle, we're probably not at our best mentally, we're not at our best mental sharpness, and we might make more simple mistakes. For example, maybe forgetting something that you know you wouldn't have beforehand. Maybe you left your lunch on the kitchen counter because you were running out of the door. So just an example of how stress can impact our memory. All right, let's say you get through all of those considerations and you're thinking that you're still having a memory problem. When should you worry about your memory? Some key takeaways. Worry when your decreased memory interferes with your ability to get through your day, or when simple tasks are becoming difficult. The important thing to remember here is that somebody with dementia or a diagnosed memory difficulty will forget about things regardless of whether they're sleeping well or sleeping poorly, whether they're busy or slow during the day, whether they're stressed or unstressed. For example, I know that if I've had a poor night's sleep, I might feel a little bit foggy in the morning, maybe having a little bit of trouble remembering quick details or remembering information quickly, just a little bit slower than normal. For somebody with dementia or a diagnosed memory difficulty, it doesn't matter if they slept well or had a bad night's sleep. It doesn't matter if they're stressed or unstressed, if they're distracted or not distracted. Those memory difficulties are persisting. So look out for persistent memory difficulties. Just to go over a couple more warning signs, and you might notice these in yourself, or you might notice these in somebody else or a loved one and be able to help guide them to their next steps. But memory loss that disrupts daily life, any challenges in planning or solving problems, difficulty completing familiar and simple tasks, things like knowing the route to the grocery store, getting yourself ready for the day. That's what we mean by familiar and simple tasks. Knowing how to use the microphone or use the microwave or make a phone call. Confusion with time and place, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships, new problems that arise with words when speaking or writing. So not just the typical tip of the tongue feeling or not being able to remember a word quickly, but things that are persistent and making communication difficult. Misplacing things and not being able to logically retrace your steps to find them or look for those items. Decreased or poor judgment, withdrawal from work or social activities. We especially want to look out for people who are no longer participating in activities that we know were previously enjoyed. Changes in mood or personality. And like I had mentioned before, memory problems that persist. So if you are concerned, number one step would be to reach out to your primary care doctor. And then if your primary care doctor thinks that further evaluation is needed, they would refer you to a neurologist. We've talked a little bit about what memory is. We've talked about normal memory loss and aging, and we've talked about some warning signs. Let's move on to the good news. The good news is that there is actually something that we can do to preserve memory abilities. So there is something that is called our cognitive reserve, and that is the brain's resistance to damage. Some people have higher levels of cognitive reserve and are more resistant to the effects of disease than other people. It's kind of like our brain's armor, right? And we can start chipping away at it. But if we have more armor, if we have more cognitive reserve, then it will take longer for that disease or memory difficulties to actually impact our functioning and impact our everyday life. So there are factors that we can control and cannot control when we're talking about cognitive reserve. Higher IQ levels, education level, occupation, right? Things that we can't really control, things that we don't have too much influence over. But the next one, participation in leisure activities, is really important because we can control it. We can decide what to participate in, and we can control how we use our brain throughout the day. There are studies that show that people who exercise, who are mentally active, who socialize regularly, and eat a healthy diet can actually minimize memory loss. So it goes back to that adage, right? Use it or lose it. If you don't use it, you can lose it. And this really relates to memory. We want you to stay active in ways that are important and meaningful to you. So we're going to keep that phrase in our mind, participation in leisure activities. And this can be something like doing crossword puzzles. This can be something like going for walks, going for drives. Anything that gets you out of the house and keeps your brain active is a leisure activity. And it's something that can help build your cognitive reserve. So I would love some participation from the audience. If you would like to share, you can unmute yourself and you can tell me about your leisure activity. So what are you doing to keep your brain active?
Hi, Megan. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. My name is Olivia Leach Nunez. One of the things that I find to be interesting and the actual consistency and frequency of it is also part of the trick is taking 5 to 10 minutes a day to practice Duolingo. So I pick the language that I want to learn, and so I'll do 5 to 10 minutes a day. But the real task is remembering to take the 5 to 10 minutes sometime throughout the day to actually do it. My mornings can
Yeah,
get away from me, or the night comes and I'm exhausted. So just remembering to do it is a good trick or a good activity, brain work.
that's fantastic. It's kind of like a two-in-one for you, doing Duolingo in the first place to learn a new language and then remembering to complete it so that you can keep your streak.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Anybody else have a leisure activity that they would like to share?
Hi Megan, my name's Jan Zies. Um, One of my
Hi, Anne.
leisurely
How are you?
activities that I really like. I'm good. How are you?
Good,
Uh,
thank you.
One of my favorite things to do is to go on runs and to work on puzzles. Kind of stretch the
Fantastic.
little
Yeah, so
brain
you're
out
getting
like
your
that.
brain active. Yeah, you're getting your brain active with the puzzles and you're keeping your body active with the running. And we know how important physical health is and that connection that it has to our brain health. Great
Very
job
true.
staying active.
And Megan, I like to watch Jeopardy when I get a chance. I am terrible at it, but I do think it helps me try and improve my memory.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jeopardy is a good one. A lot of people are big fans. I also don't know many of the answers, but it's fun to watch every once in a while.
Perfect.
All right, so how do I improve my memory? This is going to focus on things that you can do to keep your brain active, like people had just shared. So, enrolling in classes, maybe at a community college or local library, or maybe something that you watch online to learn something new, to challenge your brain. I would really refer you to your local library for this. There are so many great resources and usually free resources that you can access through them to help keep your learning going. Express your creativity. You can draw, you can paint, you can sing. You don't have to be good at it. There's a great quote by Sophia Loren that says, "There's a fountain of youth. It's your mind, it's your talents, the creativity you bring to your life and the lives of people you love. When you learn to tap into this source, you will have truly defeated age." So maybe we're not after the true fountain of youth, but keeping active and doing these things, staying creative, can definitely help reduce memory loss and keep our brains healthy. Brain games, a lot of these are through computers or through apps on a phone. They can provide mental exercises, and a lot of them are constructed to be pretty fun. Two of my favorites, I like the New York Times Games app. It has a daily mini crossword puzzle that's pretty small and manageable. You can get Wordle through there. There's lots of different games. Another one is Lumosity, and it has a variety of reasoning, problem solving, attention, memory, math tasks that change each day. So there's tons and tons out there, but those are two that I enjoy. If you're more of a pen and paper type of person, crossword puzzles, word searches, Sudoku, Scrabble, these are great, and the word-based ones like Scrabble or crossword puzzles may actually help you reduce the on the tip of your tongue feeling that you get every once in a while because it's practice retrieving words. Social networking, staying active socially is so important. So maybe considering participation in a recreational sports league, card clubs, book clubs, getting involved with any kind of worship activities or volunteer work are great ways to interact with people and stay involved with your community. Exercise, we've already talked about this one, right? That correlation between physical and cognitive health. We want people to stay active in ways that are healthy and accessible for them. And then, as Olivia had mentioned earlier with Duolingo, learning a new language, which is definitely a tall ask. So maybe learning some words or phrases from a new language. And then maybe you have a great time and you enjoy some food from that country. Okay, so this slide is definitely a little bit different, but it is a personal example of someone keeping their brain active and engaged. This is actually a screenshot from my family's group messages. So every day, my dad takes a picture from a military calendar that he has, and it has the historical military fact of the day. This picture is from yesterday, March 25th, and he shares it with us. But the important thing here is in the gray blurb underneath, where he actually summarizes what he read in the calendar. So that act of going through the information, pulling out the important parts, synthesizing it, consolidating the information, and creating a summary is a fantastic cognitive task. And I think the best thing about this is that my dad doesn't think he's doing a cognitive task, right? He just enjoys this. This is an important and a meaningful activity for him, sharing the information that he enjoys with other people. So this is just to show that there's a great variety of the ways that we can keep our brains active and that we can challenge ourselves to learn new things. So I do want to take a minute to let everybody know about the cognitive wellness program that we have at JFK Medical Center, part of Hackensack Meridian Health. It is a program created specifically for people with memory difficulties. We offer individual and group therapy sessions for people who have diagnosed memory difficulties. So we want you to know that if you are experiencing difficulties with your memory, that we have resources for you. And we have the contact information on the right side. That's the department phone number if you're looking for more information. But step one, if you're concerned about your memory, would be reaching out to your doctor. Okay, so it looks like we have just a couple minutes left. If there are any questions, I would love to answer them.
Yeah, Megan, just one observation. So I was interested to see the correlation between exercise and memory. That one I wouldn't have figured or thought of. The other ones I think make perfect sense, like use it or lose it. So I kind of thought that that's where a lot of the answers would be. Kind of like there's no magic bullet, no magic answer.
There's no magic pill, no.
Yeah. So it was funny you mentioned pill because that's kind of what I was thinking. So you mentioned use it or lose it. You did mention diet, but as anybody knows, you go to a grocery store or pharmacy, and I think we've got supplements and vitamins for everything.
Yes.
Is there something that is beneficial to memory other than like you see a lot of products advertised that are going to there's Prevagen that are supposed to like improve memory. Is there anything to that? Is there anything that that you would just say that that is more helpful as far as like a supplement, or is it really just use it or lose it and kind of do the things that you mentioned?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's also Olivia in the chat about I'm not really sure about the pronunciation about this one, but ginkgo. There's a lot of different supplements out there that claim that they can improve memory or help cognitive function. My best answer for this is that if there's a supplement that you're interested in or considering taking, would be definitely to reach out to your doctor and see what their thoughts are about it. And they might also have information about potential side effects related to other medications that somebody is taking. So I get this question actually in my speech therapy sessions a lot because we hear about it a lot on the radio, on the TV, we see them in the store. And the best information that I can offer anybody is just to reach out to their doctor and see what they think.
Excellent. So again, we'll open this up for anybody else. I know we're a little bit up on time, but we can go over just a little bit. So those of you familiar with WebEx, there's a raise hand functionality on the bottom. Again, you can use that, and we can answer your questions. Also, Megan, if you saw anything on the chat, I think another one just came through the chat. You can feel free, if you have the ability to take a look at those, you can answer those directly. And then again, if anybody wants, you can always just take yourself off mute, state your name, and Megan will acknowledge it.
Yeah, okay. So I did see that message in the chat. I saw that Laura had a question about hydration. Hydration is so important for our brain and our body as a whole. A lot of times dehydration can lead to acute and transient difficulties with memory, altered mental status, confusion. So staying hydrated is a fantastic way to try to prevent those episodes. So definitely stay hydrated, drink water to the best of your ability. I saw there was also a hand raise. I think that was from Scott.
Yes, Megan, first, thank you for your time tonight. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm just wondering, with all of the information that's sort of bombarding us every day between cell phones and televisions and radio and everything else, I mean, is it possible to overload? Is there too much information that impacts memory, or does that have anything to do with it, just the amount of information that we're taking in? Does it cloud our memory in any way?
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. When we think about how attention is so closely connected to our memory and how we need to be paying attention to something to be able to remember it, we can consider all of, that information overload, right? We can't possibly pay attention to everything that there is out there. And if we're hectic, running around, if we're trying to multitask all the time, or we have information coming in from so many different sources, it might negatively impact our memory. Whereas if we're able to take information in from one source, there's not competing information, right? You're not trying to listen to the TV, but also on a phone call and also have like a baby crying in the other room, right? It might be a lot easier to keep that information in our minds. So yes, I think information overload can definitely impact how efficient our memory is.
Okay, then one more. Matt, the mayor had mentioned nutrition. I heard blueberries are good. Any proof to that or not?
I've heard that too. I think because of the antioxidants. But what I've seen from some of the neuropsych evaluations that I've read through is that a lot of them are recommending something like a Mediterranean diet with a focus on healthy fats, whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables. So I'm not sure entirely about blueberries, but I have heard the recommendation of the healthy fats, the whole grains, whole foods, fruits and veggies.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Megan,
welcome.
I think we have a councilman with their hand up who I know has an excellent memory.
Sure, I think it was Councilman Derek.
Hi, Megan. How are you? Thank you very much
Hi, I'm good. You're welcome.
for all the information. Sorry, I joined a little late. So if this was covered, please forgive me. But I was wondering how much hereditary factors play into memory loss. And if there are hereditary factors, will some of these cognitive exercises and things like that limit, maybe mitigate or stave off that memory loss?
Yes, that is a fantastic question.
Well, thank you.
There is a really strong hereditary link with dementia. So sometimes dementia can actually run in a family, and people might say, my great grandma had dementia, and then my grandma had dementia, and I'm worried about myself having dementia. And there is still that idea of cognitive reserve, right? So building up our brain's defenses against any kind of disease, right? A disease process like dementia that can cut down on our memory and our cognitive abilities. So even though there is that genetic link, a lot of time it kind of can hint people off, can tip them off. Wow, like I'm starting to notice something. I should start to get involved with my doctors. I should let them know what's going on as soon as possible. I should try to do the best that I can for my memory. So even though there is that genetic link, we can still act to strengthen our memory in the best way that we can and build up our cognitive reserve. So that was a fantastic question.
Thank you, Megan.
You're
That was a
welcome.
fantastic answer.
Thank you.
Next month's seminar is how to be on time, councilman.
Time management.
Time management. Just kidding. Anyone else? Well, Megan, I want to thank you and JFK for again the continued partnership, not just this year in these seminars, but also over the years in various health fairs and events at our senior center. You guys are a tremendous resource, to our senior director who's here as well, and just to the community and in general. So we appreciate that partnership, and we're glad that you guys are such active members of the community.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that we've been helpful.
You've been very helpful. So this, again, this is being recorded. So if anybody has any additional questions, I know there was a bunch of, resources at the end. You can obviously pause the presentation and look at those. There they are, very, very good. You reach out to JFK, reach out to some of the resources over there, and hopefully get you the answers that you need. With that, again, we'll thank you for tonight. Thank you for everything. And we will have the meeting up on the borough website, hopefully within a couple of days. And again, have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining. This has been very educational and informative for all of us, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Likewise.
Thank you.
You too.